The strangest frontier on Earth is not in space. It is under your feet. A place so vast that if every human being on Earth vanished tonight, the ocean would still keep most of its secrets. We have pointed cameras at Mars for decades. We have stitched together nearly the entire surface of another planet into a global map. Yet here on Earth, where we breathe the air, drink the water, and build our cities, most of the ocean floor remains unseen in high resolution. That should not feel possible, and yet it is. Because the truth is not that we know too much about Mars. The truth is that we know too little about the world we live on. Somewhere beneath the waves, there are mountain ranges taller than anything on land, trenches deeper than the skyline is tall, volcanic plains, ancient wrecks, strange ecosystems fed by darkness instead of sunlight, and entire landscapes we have only guessed at from blurred sonar shadows. We have named the moon's craters, we have counted Mars's valleys, but on our own planet, there are places that still appear on maps as broad, uncertain blankness. Why? Why does a red desert world feel more familiar than the bottom of the sea? To understand that contradiction, you have to begin with a machine in orbit around Mars. For more than a decade, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has been collecting images sharp enough to show features as small as a tennis court. Those images now cover more than 99% of Mars at least once, and more than 60% more than once. The planet has become readable, almost intimate, like a face we have studied from every angle. Now compare that to the ocean. The ocean does not yield its secrets to a camera the way Mars does. Light dies quickly underwater. Pressure crushes equipment. Salt corrodes. Storms delay ships. The sea does not sit still for our convenience. It moves, darkens, hides, swallows. To map the seabed in modern high resolution, you usually need a ship, sonar systems, fuel, time, weather windows, skilled crews, and enormous budgets. Even then, as of April 2026, only 28.7% of the global seafloor had been mapped with modern high-resolution technology. That number is the first shock. The second is worse. Scientists say explorers have seen less than 0.001% of the deep ocean seafloor directly. Less than 1,000th of 1%. That is not a lot remains. That is almost nothing. So why does Mars win? Because Mars is easier to look at than the ocean floor beneath our own planet. Mars is dry, airless, and still. The ocean is alive, moving, and hostile. Mars gives up its shape under sunlight and orbiting cameras. The ocean keeps its shape hidden under miles of shifting water. One world is exposed, the other is armored. And that changes everything. At first, this seems like a story about technology, but it is really a story about attention, about what humanity chooses to illuminate. When Mars becomes a global obsession, we send spacecraft. When the ocean becomes a mystery, we send expeditions. One is a clean, elegant image problem. The other is a brutal, logistical problem. But beneath that practical explanation is a deeper one. We tend to admire what is far away more easily than what is close enough to confront us. Mars is a dream. The ocean is a reminder that we are still not dominant here, not fully, not even close. And the sea has been collecting evidence for centuries that it is larger than our certainty. Long before satellites, sailors returned with stories that sounded impossible. Lights under the water, islands that appeared and vanished, currents that moved like living things, creatures with bodies no one expected. For generations, the ocean was a place of myth because it was a place of incomplete knowledge. Today we've replaced sea monsters with data, but in some ways, the unknown has only become more technical. A trench on a screen is still a trench in the dark. A sonar ridge is still a mountain no human eye has seen. And every map leaves out something. The modern race to map the ocean floor has accelerated through projects like Seabed 2030, which have steadily expanded coverage with new bathymetric data. Yet even with that progress, the ocean floor remains only partially charted at modern standards. We have better tools than ever, and still the scale of the problem keeps outrunning us. That mismatch creates a strange psychological effect. The more we discover, the more the unknown seems to grow. Because every sonar line reveals another ridge. Every expedition uncovers another hydrothermal vent. Every newly mapped section raises another question. What is hiding in the gaps between what we know? Some of the most unsettling discoveries are not monsters. They are systems. Underwater mountain chains that may influence currents and climate. Deep trenches that trap unique forms of life. Mineral-rich vents where ecosystems survive without sunlight. Vast underwater landscapes that may hold clues to Earth's history, plate tectonics, and the way life began itself. This is where the comparison to Mars becomes almost unfair. Mars is important because it may tell us how planets evolve and whether life once existed elsewhere. The ocean is important because it is where life already won once, and where it may still be rewriting the rules in places we barely touch. The irony is devastating. The place most likely to teach us about life's resilience is the place we know least well. And then comes the real twist. The ocean is not just hard to explore, it is hard to emotionally imagine. Mars feels like a destination. The ocean floor feels like a burden. It is dark, immense, wet, expensive, and inconvenient. No one sells the romance of a ship waiting in rough weather for a sonar run to finish. No one puts a trench on a poster and says, "This will change humanity." But maybe they should, because hidden beneath the water is the architecture of the planet itself. If you strip the oceans away, Earth would not just look different, it would look like a wounded world with scars exposed. A planet of ridges, basins, fractures, and scars so massive they dwarf the borders we draw on maps. The seabed is not an empty floor. It is the foundation of everything above it. Still, most of it remains unseen, not because it cannot be known, because it has not yet been prioritized. And that creates an uncomfortable question. If we can map Mars so completely, why haven't we mapped the ocean that covers most of our own planet? The answer is not one answer. It is budget, physics, politics, engineering, and human attention. But there is also a softer truth. Exploration is not purely about capability, it is about desire. We fund the mysteries that feel inspiring, urgent, or identity-shaping. Mars became a symbol of the future. The ocean became background. And yet, when you look closely, the ocean is the more radical frontier. Not because it is farther away, because it is closer, and still refuses to be owned by our certainty. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship at night. The surface below you is black glass. Somewhere underneath, mountain ranges rise in silence. Somewhere beyond your sonar range, a trench drops into depths almost impossible to picture. You are not looking at emptiness. You are looking at an incomplete sentence. That is the real story. Not that Mars is more explored than the ocean, but that our own planet still contains places we barely know how to describe. The revelation becomes even sharper when you compare the numbers side by side. Mars's surface has been imaged over more than 99% by NASA's Context camera, while the ocean floor is still only 28.7% mapped to modern high resolution, and the deep sea itself is almost entirely unseen by direct human eyes. Mars looks conquered because it is visible. The ocean feels mysterious because it is not. And that difference may be shaping the future more than we realize. Because the next major breakthrough in climate science, biology, geology, or even disaster prediction may not come from the red planet at all. It may come from a dark ridge under the sea, from a vent field no one has visited, from a canyon no one has named, from a map tile that finally replaces uncertainty with shape. The sea is not merely waiting, it is holding evidence. Evidence of ancient Earth, evidence of hidden ecosystems, evidence of the forces that still remake our world every day. So maybe the most unbelievable fact is not that we know more about Mars than the ocean. Maybe it is that we have accepted that imbalance for so long. Because once you realize how much of Earth remains unvisited, the planet stops feeling fully known. It becomes strange again, alive again, bigger than our language. And that changes the meaning of exploration. Exploration is not about going farther away. It is about realizing how much is still here. Somewhere below the waves, the planet is still drawing its own maps in the dark. The only question is whether we will keep staring outward or finally turn the full force of our curiosity back toward home. Because if Earth still hides a world beneath the water, what else have we mistaken for familiar? And if the ocean is still keeping secrets this close to us, what are we missing everywhere else? Follow Curioverse, because the next mystery may be hiding closer to home than you think.